Welcome back. Uh, in this lecture, we try to understand substantive theory of democracy. Substantive theory of democracy. To understand substantive theory of democracy, like every other topic, we have to understand the meaning of the word. If you understand the meaning of the word, your half of word work is done. Right? You can think in the right direction. You can approach the topic in the extremely right direction. So, what is substantive? What is substantive? Substantive means outcome based. What is substantive? Substantive you can remember by equality of outcome. Right? Equality of outcome is substantive equality. You can take yourself, you can take yourself to Marxist theory as well. Right? To understand the word substantive, take yourself to Marxist theory. Marxist theory. Marxist theory is about socio-economic equality. It is about socio-economic equality. It is substantive theory. So we have understood substantive theory. It is about outcome. Uh, it is about socio-economic equality. Right. Before that, I will give you one more heads up with respect to what we are going to study. We are going to study real empowerment. Right. Real distribution of power. Real empowerment, real distribution of power is the heads up you have. Is the heads up you have. Right? So we start with the theory itself. Before understanding theory, as you understand the meaning of the word, before understanding the theory, you also understand the man who has wrote the theory. The man who has wrote the theory, it is C.B. Macpherson. If you remember C.B. Macpherson, right? If you remember C.B. Macpherson, if you remember Locke, C.B. Macpherson criticizes Locke to be a scholar of scholar of possessive individualism. He criticizes Locke to be possessive individualist, right? And he's a Marxist of some sort, right? He's a Marxist. He's a neo-Marxist. I will categorize him as such. He's a neo-Marxist. And C.B. Macpherson is essentially a critique of liberal democracies and in egalitarian nature of Western democracies. In egalitarian nature of Western democracies, right? Western democracies. This is C.B. Macpherson. If you remember C.B. Macpherson from Locke, it is great. If you don't, you just have to remember that he's a critique of possessive individualism. He's not scholar. He's a critique of possessive individualism. He's a critique of Locke, and he's also a critique of liberal democracies and inegalitarian nature of Western liberal democracies. What do he mean by inegalitarian nature? We will try to understand as well. But this is Macpherson. Macpherson is a neo-Marxist. This keep in mind, right? Also keep in mind that he has analyzed democracy most exhaustively. He has analyzed democracy in multiple terms, in multiple perspectives. In his books, number one, Life and Times of Liberal Democracies. This is first book. The second book is democratic theory, essay in retrieval. Democratic theory, essay in retrieval. Right? He has a small theory. The theory is not really exhaustive or not really hard to understand. Theory is really small, but the critique is there. He has given a large critique of every theory of democracy. Number one, he starts with right the critiques given by Macpherson, right? Macpherson, C.V. Macpherson, the critique given by C.V. Macpherson, critics, right? So the critiques given by C.V. Macpherson are mostly related to liberal democracies. So he starts with liberalism is not really re- sorry, sorry. Liberalism does not have monopoly over democracy. Liberalism does not have monopoly over democracy. Why does he say so? He says that communist parties, communist countries have democracy within party. They have intra-party democracy. What does he mean by that? Right? If you don't know, I will give you example of China. The Chinese Communist Party, CCP, the CCP, there is internal democracy of some sort. They have internal elections and all those things, right? So Communist Party, there is intra-party democracy. In third world, in India, in South Africa, in all those places, there is democracy with one party dominance. Right? India is a democracy with one party dominance, whereby you see Indian National Congress being dominant till 1990s. Then BJP got dominant for some time. Then again Congress and then again BJP. So in third world, there is democracy with one party being dominant. Right? So liberalism does not have monopoly over democracy. Democracy exists in communist countries and third world countries as well. The second criticism that Macpherson has of liberal democracy is that capitalism is not always democratic. Capitalism is not always democratic, right? What does he mean? Right? Capitalism itself is not always democratic. If you remember, if you remember, Glorious Revolution. What were the two factions of Glorious Revolution? Catholics, Catholic Church plus feudals versus capitalist bourgeoisie, capitalist bourgeoisie plus king plus Protestants, right? So capitalist bourgeoisie has sided with kings, right? Capitalist bourgeoisie has given king their support, right? Then during World War Two, sorry, not during, between between time of World War Two and World War One and World War Two, is usually called interwar period, right? Specifically in Germany, right? Germany during Hitler's rule, we see capitalist class siding with Hitler, right? If you don't remember, I will give you one example of many examples of the capitalist who sided with Hitler. BMW, Porsche, Fanta, Adidas, right? All these people were on side of Hitler. If I don't know if they were on side of Hitler, at least they wanted to be sustainable in time of war, right? They supported Hitler. They gave their machinery to Hitler. They produced for Hitler. So capitalism has no true friends. Capitalism's only friend is profit. In any system where they find ease of doing business, in any system they find profit, they will side with that person. In Hindi, if I have to say, capitalist का कोई दीन दीन धर्म जाति नहीं होती. कैपिटलिज्म का केवल एक जाति होता है, एक दिन होता है, एक ईमान होता है या फिर एक धर्म होता है, वो है पैसा. वो है पैसा. So is profit is religion of capitalist. It does not care about ideology. So capitalism is not really democratic. Whatever system gives capitalism conducive environment, capitalism will side with that system, right? And the third criticism that he gives of liberal democracies, that Western democracies are not always egalitarian, right? If you remember Gini coefficient from economy, the inequality index. This is inequality index. Where do you think US lie in this inequality index among the bottomest of countries? Where do you think US lies? Where do you think what is another capitalist countries that I can remember? So US is one capitalist country. France maybe. Where do France lie in Gini coefficient? Right below. It is not really up there as let's say China. There is some sort of equality in China. There is of course bourgeoisie there. There is of course inequality there. But the level of inequality that US has and the level of inequality that China has, uh, there are two different metrics to that. So Western democracies are not always egalitarian. The communist countries can be egalitarian as well, can be, right? Recently they have not been, but they can be. So this is the idea, right? Okay. And he has first given criticism of Western liberal democracies. Second thing that he has done in analysis of democracy, right? He has analyzed number one liberal democracies. He has analyzed models of democracies as well, right? Macpherson analyzed different models of democracy, right? He has analyzed classical models. He has analyzed modern models as well. We have learned all of these models, right? Classical models like Marxist model of democracy. Remember Lenin's theory of Communist Party, broad based with pyramidical view. Liberal democracies, liberal models of democracies, protective model, developmental model, right? Then he has also analyzed elitist theory of power or democracy. He has analyzed pluralist theory of power or democracy. Right? When he analyzed classical models, right? He analyzed classical model. He he felt them. Right? He felt that classical models were normative. They were norm based. Right? How classical models are normative, I will explain, do not worry. And they were non-empirical. Classical models are are normative and non-empirical, right? So I will give you example. We'll always keep we'll have examples, and we'll have all types of examples. Have example of liberal liberal model. We'll have example of liberal models or liberal theory of democracy. So liberal model has two types of liberal theory of democracy has two models. Number one is protective model. The number two is developmental model. Protective model of mill, developmental model of no, sorry, protective model of Locke and developmental model of Mill. So, what is the normative element of protective or developmental model? Autonomy of self. What protective model is trying to do? Protection of rights. What model is trying to do? Actuality to potentiality, potentiality to actuality, not the other way around. So, right, there is a normative element of individuality, but is it based on empirical facts? Is it based on empirical facts? No. There is no observation, there is no study. Scholars have said that this might work. This is my theory which might work. This is my theory which is based on an autonomy of self, and it might work. It might not work. This is the idea. There is no certainty with respect to the theory. They have said this, we accepted it because it feels right. It feels right that developmental model of democracy can lead to potentiality to actuality. Then protective model can lead to protection of rights, but is it really based on facts? Is it really based on empirical perspective, or there is no hint of empiricism in liberal model? Similarly with Marxist theory of democracy, Marxist theory of democracy, it is based on socio-economic equality, right? Socio-economic equality, and there is no empirical aspect to it. Marx has said that economy is basic structure, right? And we assume it to be right, primary truth. We assume it to be a line on rock, right? Assume it to be sampurna satya, but is it true? Who is it based on? Empirical data. What data he has gathered? Nothing. So the classical models, both classical models, whether it be liberal or whether it be Marxist, they are normative and non-empirical, right? They are normative and non-empirical. On the other hand, modern models, right? We have understood classical models. We have to again see the criticism of modern models as well. Modern models. What two modern models of democracy, theory of democracy we have? One elite theory of democracy or power, or pluralist theory of democracy of power. Elite theory by C.W. Mills, pluralist theory by Robert Dahl. Right? Both these person were behavioral. Their theories are empirical. They have conducted studies and they have came to a conclusion that uh, either elites are in power who control government positions, or pressure groups are in power, right? So they conducted study and they got to a particular conclusion. So these models are empirical, but they are not normative. They are procedural, they are descriptive, but they don't give a solution. They are descriptive, they are not prescriptive. They don't give a solution, right? That is the issue with modern models, right? What Macpherson has done, has criticized every model there is. He has criticized liberal theory of democracy. He has criticized liberal democracies. He has criticized Marxist model of democracy, classical model of democracy, modern model of democracy. He has criticized everything. He has criticized everything. Liberal model, classical model, he say are normative, non-empirical. Modern model, he say that are empirical, non-normative. They are procedural. They are prescriptive. Do not give any solution for real problems. Right? When he criticizes every model of democracy, he has to give some solution, and he gives his solution in form of substantive theory of democracy. Substantive theory of democracy. Right? Substantive theory of democracy. What is substantive theory of democracy? Substantive theory of democracy, number one, we have to understand it is a normative model. It takes into question of what should we do, what should be things like. right? What should be things like, and it is empirical as well, right? It is empirical as well. How it is empirical, will I will make you understand. Do not worry, right? To make you understand substantive model, I already have given some background of the word substantive, right? We have understood substantive, which is outcome based, which is about socioeconomic equality, which is equality of outcome. We have मैं क्लास में हूँ भैया, आप प्लीज तो दे दो यार, मैं क्लास में रहता हूँ ये टाइम पे, तो मतलब अ, कोई कोई कर देगा मतलब लाइब्रेरी में मेरे साथ मेरी अभी हाथ में, आप तो देख के जाते हो मेरे को करके। सरस्वती, मोहित, थैंक यू। मैं अकेला नहीं हूँ, 3 लोग हैं हम। अच्छा एक काम किया करो, जब शाम को आया करो ना, शाम को कर दिया करो। ठीक है भैया, थैंक यू। ठीक है भैया। तो where was I? I have already explained you what does substantive mean. Are you here? I have already explained you what does substantive mean. Right? What does substantive mean? I have already explained you. Substantive means equality of outcome. Substantive means socio-economic equality. Right? We'll go back to our theory. Right? Substantive means empowerment. Right? Socio-economic equality is some sort of empowerment, and substantive mean increasing capacity or capability. Now, if you do not remember two-person here, I will be I will be very disheartened. Empowerment, by empowerment, you should remember Hannah Arendt. And by capacity or capability, you must remember Amartya Sen. Hannah Arendt, what does Hannah Arendt say about power? That power is to empower. What is the primary use of power? It is empowering, right? It is empowering. And what does Amartya Sen say about power? That it should lead to capacity building, or what Amartya Sen says about democracy, that it should lead to increasing capacity, increasing capability, increase in development of people, increasing development of common people, right? Increasing development of common people. So what democracy should be, according to substantive theory of democracy, what democracy should be for? It should be for development, and it should be for betterment of society. It should be for development, it should be for betterment of society, it should be for empowerment, it should be for creative freedom. So substantive theory of democracy has purpose of substantive theory of democracy. Purpose of substantive theory of democracy is is capacity building, empowerment, and rise empowerment and giving sense of functionality to its people. Democracy should give sense of functionality to its people, right? And he connects his theory of democracy to his theory of power, and he gives two types of power. Two types of power, right? The first type of power, according to him, is exploitative power, exhaust extractive power, not exploitative but extractive power. The second kind of power is developmental power, right? And in explaining present situation, right, he explains present situation like this, right? How diffusion of power, how distribution of power presently is within the society. To explain that, he makes a matrix. He makes a matrix, and he makes a matrix like this: capitalist on one side, workers on other side, and and in columns he makes two columns: extractive power and developmental power. And in explaining diffusion of power, in explaining distribution of power, he says that capitalist has 99 to 100% of extractive power. In explaining developmental power, he says that 99 to 100% of developmental power is with capitalist, and worker has 0 to 1% of both extractive power and capital and developmental power, right? And in giving solution to this, that how should the distribution of power should be, he gives an ideal situation. He gives an ideal situation. In ideal situation, he explains capitalist and workers, extractive power and developmental power. Developmental power. He says that he says that extractive power in ideal situation with capitalists should be 0%. Extractive power with workers in ideal situation should be 0%, and developmental power should be 100% with both of them. With both of them, right? This matrix, you may have understood what I may have understood what I'm trying to say. You may not have understood what I'm trying to say. So let's just let's just do a comparative analysis of both the situations side by side. I will make this I will make the both of the diagrams a little bit smaller, and I will try to explain to you what I'm basically trying to say, or what Macpherson is basically trying to say with the situation, right? I will have to explain them side by side. It will be better that way, right? I hope it is visible to you side by side. The font may have gone a bit smaller, but I hope you will cooperate with me in this situation, right? So present situation is like this: extractive power. What is extractive power, right? What is extractive power? Power to extract something out of someone, right? Power to extract something out of someone, right? So bureaucracy has power of extraction. Like bad bureaucracy has power of extraction of bribes, right? And good bureaucracy has developmental power as well, right? Developmental power as well. So what he basically want to say, what is extractive power? To get something done out of someone, right? It has negative connotation. What it basically wants to say, what extractive power basically wants to say, is this: that even if someone don't want to do something, you are able to get something done from that person. And he says that capitalist has 99 to 100% of extractive power. How? Let's say capitalists say COVID-19 has just happened, right? COVID-19 has just happened. To he will say that to workers, and he will continue with saying that I will reduce your wages by 25%. Right? This is extractive power. Capitalists want to slash wages of its workers. Now, workers, when have 0 to 1% of power, they will say no. They will say no, right? We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. We want, right? At max, we will be okay with 10% of salary cut. Right? Capitalist may not bow to their demands because they have small extractive power. Right? Right? Eventually things will settle on 15%. 15% will get slashed, 17% will get slashed. Both of them have extractive power, right? Both of them have some extractive power. What is extractive power? To get done something out of someone. without their consent. Extraction, extraction, right? A bureaucrat has extractive power with respect to bribes, right? Bad bureaucrats have extractive power with respect to bribes. The bad bureaucrat will say to a tender filler that give me 25% of your tender amount, I will pass your tender. That is extractive power, right? That is extractive power to get something done out of someone. What is developmental power? The same bureaucrat has developmental power that he can do very, very grassroots change, right? Ultimate change in lives. He can change the lives of people. He has real developmental power. He can change the face of the India, right? He can change the face of the roads. He can change if he wants to change. He has that much developmental power, right? He can with his power can give people water, right? He can do betterment of schools. There is developmental power with bureaucrat as well. What is extractive power? To extract something out of someone. What is developmental power? To do something good with the power you have. What is developmental power? To do something good, to develop something with the power you have. Now, what is the distribution of extractive power and developmental power between capitalists and workers? Presently, according to Macpherson, that capitalist has 99 to 100% of extractive power and developmental power as well. Worker has very less power with him, 0 to 1% of uh, extractive and developmental power. So very less power with worker and huge power with capitalist, both extractive and developmental. It is present situation. But what should be ideal situation? What should be ideal situation? That nobody should be able to extract anything out of anyone. Right? Extractive power should be zero. Why should one human being and why should one human being be allowed to extract something out of someone? Right? It is so repugnant to human mind that I can extract something out of someone. So extractive power with both capitalist and workers should be zero. It should be zero. There should be no extractive power which capitalist or worker should have. Both should have 100% of the developmental power. Right? Both should have 100% of the developmental power. This means that they should be able to do, they should be able to develop whatever they want to develop. Right? If capitalists want to develop his industry, he should be allowed to. If worker has to wants to develop his household, worker wants to develop himself, he should be allowed to. Extractive power with both of them should be zero. Both should have developmental power. Both should have developmental power. Extractive power is power of extraction. Developmental power is power to develop yourself or power to develop people around you or power to develop your society. Presently, the distribution of power is with capitalists, whereby capitalist has 99 of 100% of both the extractive and developmental power. Worker has very less power, 0 to 1% of both extractive and developmental power. In ideal situation, both worker and capitalist should have 0% extractive power. They should not have extractive power, but developmental power with both of them should be 100%. They should be able to develop whatever they want to do, whether it be their life, whether it be their society, whether it be their family. That is the idea. So this is a very good conclusion with respect to theory of democracy. This is a very good theory of power as well, right? He has categorized types of power, and given so he has given so detailed account of how power is diffused. So this is a very good theory. I feel this is a very comprehensive theory with respect to he has given criticism of the existing theories, and he has given a solution to that as well, and quite detailed solution. So what is significance of Macpherson's theory? Right? Number one number one if you remember death or decline of political theory, Macpherson's theory revived normative philosophy. He has revived normative philosophy. right? And it is also useful. It is also useful in every situation, right? This is a so good theory that it is useful in liberal democracies. It is useful in communist countries, and it is very useful everywhere, right? So what I'm trying to say, that developmental power should be equal across every human being. This is a very good theory. You can conclude a lot of your answers with substantive theory of democracy, right? Or developmental power. Very good theory, very good concept, can be applied at a lot of places. I hope this helped, right? If you apply this in international relations with respect to theory of power or anything like that, or why state should use why state should use why state should use power, right? You are going to of course get extra marks because you are interlinking the topics. So yeah, this the very important topic with respect to concluding aspect of the answers, or a concept itself. You can always write this in ethics as well, right? Thank you so much. I hope this helped. We'll continue from the next lecture. We'll start with politics of representation and participation, right? And we'll start with political parties. So yeah, thank you so much. I will see you from the next lecture.